You know, about February, March this year, we began to see weather patterns that were unique and we believed had the potential for drought. We began watching it pretty carefully. In fact, in June is when I first stood up our state emergency management organizations to go on 24-hour-a-day watch, and the reason we did that was because of the fire challenges on the front end of this. We had at one point around the 4th of July 105 fires, ground fires, burning at the same time in the state. And we still have significant risks, especially if we move into the fall for those fires. And down in this part of the state, you've seen some, and we had one down West Plains that ran for 8 miles up by the road there and had a fatality down there, folks driving through the smoke. So that, and then the second phase we went through was making sure that we were going to have water supplies for how do we say it, human beings. And so we went through an evaluation of the over 1,400 water supply areas in the state, all those systems to make sure they were up and operating. Then we did planning to make sure that if any of those local water systems went down, that we'd have the ability to move water in. So we worked with the Guard to have their tanks ready. We worked with Convoy Hope out of Springfield to make sure that we could get human water in anywhere in the state instantaneously. So that part, and then John and I began tours of the agriculture sector in mid-July. And what we saw was pretty stark. I mean, among the row crop folks, especially in some of the areas especially hard hit by this historic drought. And I should note, from history purposes, the only year you can, in anybody here's lifetime, you can match to this year is 1934 as far as the small amounts. So think Dust Bowl. That's what this summer has been. You add the heat to that. I mean, we've had 39 heat-related deaths in Missouri this summer. Also, you couple the human with the animal. It's pretty significant. So we toured all sorts of areas all across the state, from Tarkio to Ewing to Bolivar. We've been to Bolivar twice. Went to the cattle auctions around the state in Kingsville and down Joplin, Springfield. The bottom line is what we saw was among the row croppers, obviously it's not going to be a great year, but many of them have some sort of insurance and ways to help deal with that. Although we saw some corn being taken up yesterday, just turning into silage. They couldn't get any yield out of it in northern Missouri. But what we saw was a really extreme problem among the folks in the livestock area, both not only dairy and beef, but also poultry and others. But quite frankly, in the most simplistic sense, if you don't have feed, you can buy it. It may be expensive, but you can buy it. If you don't have water, you got to sell. And so we saw this precipitous beginning of selling off of our herds. Now, obviously, in the dairy area, we've been working hard to try to get those herds back up, to get more people involved in that. And it's been a difficult pull with the milk prices and all that sort of stuff. I don't have to tell anybody here about that. On the beef side, we had risen to the #2 cow-calf state in the country. The only one with more than us is Texas. They got a little bit more property, but you know, and so we're never going to have as much property as them. But moving up to second there in the country, and when we saw those sales start coming, it really concerned us. And that's when, so then on about 5 o'clock one evening, I signed the executive order putting together this cost share program in which we work with local soil and water, our state soil and water board, our state emergency management, our community development block grant. We put together teams. Our teams have worked, and I want to thank the local folks here for their hard work over the weekends. Weekends, nights, mornings, as they were saying, they got a call on a Sunday to be at the soil and water office on Monday morning at 7 a.m. And by the time they got back here, there was a well drill. The other thing that we've done is try to manage this as we move through the process very aggressively, as if you know, like an emergency management situation. And that has meant that here we had about 11,000 applications for various sorts of cost share. About 5,900 of those made it through the process to get approved, so it's about 50-50. I mean, we had a pretty tight criteria. It had to affect, had to actually be a disaster, and had to affect those. Of those 5,900, about 4,000 now are either completed, and I'm going to mark this one completed myself here. Yeah. I'll go enter that one in the computer. Completed are in construction right now, or already have contracts to get done here in the short term. When I did that original executive order, our focus was on getting things done in 60 days. We're trying to coordinate all the resources we have to have now, and that 60 days will run to 24 23rd of September. We're obviously trying to get as much done as we can out of, but to have 4,000 out of the 5,900 in that zone right now, and once again we're reaching out. The other thing that we did was through volunteers from all sorts of agencies and government, step up a customer, in essence working with the folks on the that are recipients to make sure we get a communication line there. The last part, and I'll take any questions folks have. We were committed from the very beginning of this to have as much economic impact to inside our state as possible. And so we did two things that I think, if we look back, we're proud of doing. Number one is that you know, we worked to try to get as many local contractors involved as possible, so that the landowners were working with people they knew, and so that the dollars that were paid out in this program will go to local economies. You know, some folks have said that I just didn't want to reach outside the state unless we were forced into it. Obviously, there's folks who can do this work outside our state, and we have to balance all that. But that internal part has been important. And the second part, if you're looking at this just from the economic development, if you ignore everything else, and you look at an asset like this. This is a solid investment that will increase the value of this property and make this property worth more forever. I mean, not just for dealing with this right now. So we see this as an investment in our agriculture. We have, 108,000 farms in Missouri. This, as far as the beef operation, you're about 50,000 of them. You have about 100,000, a little less than 100,000 dairy cattle in the state of Missouri. So you can see if you can strengthen that, especially relative to other states, and make us able to handle more difficult situations when other states are in essence standing still or whatever, then we're going to find ourselves in a growth mode long run, and an increased value of the property that provides the bounty for our country, quite frankly, the world. I mean, Missouri farmers feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Agriculture is our backbone, and making this investment now, we think, is the right thing to do, and will have a great long-term benefit.